Now, the biggest news for you is not what's happening in Washington, it's what's happening around the world, and that is this persistent pandemic, extraordinary contraction hitting every country that you are engaged with. What is the World Bank able to do? How constrained are you as we face the economic component of this crisis?
I don't think of us as being constrained, but being challenged. So the goal for the World Bank is to interact with each country as best we can in helping them raise living standards. But principally right now, that's a response to COVID and to the economic shutdowns that have gone on in 2020. We started this in April of 2020 to try to be very quick in having resources available to the countries for masks and for personal protective equipment. And then in August and September, we wanted to develop quickly the ability to extend that to vaccines. What that means is assessing for each country what they need in order to carry out vaccinations. That means the computer systems or the checkoff systems, the registry of people, and then as the vaccines begin arriving, we can help purchase them, meaning with both grants and with very low interest rate loans. That's good for the whole world to have more people vaccinated. So we're working on that, and I hope that will go relatively quickly in 2021, though, as you know, this is a big challenge for the world to actually deliver vaccines and vaccinate people.
Now, the infrastructure clearly, has been challenged even here in the United States and in Europe, never mind in countries that don't have anything close to the same healthcare infrastructure. Where do you see the biggest gaps right now? Where are the biggest open questions as to are they going to get it right or not as we look ahead to 2021, 2022?
You know, it's a variety, and quite a bit of it is technical. For example, there are so many countries, it would be very helpful to have a standard contract with the various vaccine manufacturers. And so we're working on that. So we can help design a standard contract and then help countries work with their vaccine choices. You know, they will be choosing safe, approved vaccines, and then to quickly contract and get delivery schedules. That's proving to be one of the challenges. How do you get a contract? How do you get it signed within your country? And then how do you get delivery schedules from the manufacturers?
So the question right now in the United States is when individuals are getting their vaccinations. As you look around the world, the developing world, how much uncertainty and what's your time frame for what vaccination rollout actually looks like?
Unfortunately, much of this may actually occur in the second half of 2021 or even in 2022. Part of the challenge is the advanced economies have reserved a lot of the vaccine doses. There's an international organization called COVAX that's trying to get multiple doses and then have a process to deliver those equitably and fairly to the developing countries. We work closely with them, but we also have funding available to go directly with the manufacturers if that will accelerate some of the delivery dates. The availability of vaccine is important, and also the readiness of the country to deliver it promptly once it arrives in country. Those are the practical challenges.
So to pivot from vaccines to the economy, as you're thinking about your forecasts, there's a huge difference in how countries are going to rebound economically between second half of 2021 and first half of 2022. How impossible is it for you economists at the World Bank to do your job with this level of uncertainty?
Yeah, well, you don't want to count too much on the accuracy, on the forecasts themselves. What we've done is a range of outcomes, and that depends on how well the vaccine program works. Also, the reopening in the developed countries, that's very important. They provide markets for the developing world. Think of extremely poor people around the world. One of the critical variables in their life over the next 2 years is going to be when does the developed world really start operating at a more normal process. That means imports of food into the advanced economies, much of which comes from developing world. That's one. But also tourism is a very important part of this. And a critical component is remittances. One of the biggest sources of support for people in poverty around the world is the remittances that come from their families who may work across the border in some other country. And restarting that process is going to be critical in their survival. Extreme poverty has gone up, and there's also food insecurity that, as prices have been rising on food, that creates its own new set of challenges for people in the developing world.